I needed to reframe the point for myself in an honest way. Like, I need to look honestly at what's happening. And so the difference between developing your voice and finding your voice is that when you're developing your voice, everything is a contribution. All right, good morning everybody. This is Andrew Gable here. And I just wanted to mention a point that I was looking at last night, yesterday. As you can see behind me, I've got a canvas. It's got sort of a toned background. And that's because I wiped out the painting that I was doing yesterday. So I spent probably, I would say 4 or 5 hours on a piece yesterday, maybe 3 or 4 hours on a piece. And at the end of the day, I just wiped it out because it was almost like quicker for me to wipe it out and start over again than to try and push through with what I had already began. The last couple sessions in my studio felt almost like I wasn't getting anywhere and I wasn't happy with the results. And you know, last night I had this experience, or yesterday, where I wiped out the painting, and then it was kind of like this point I was feeling like frustrated, and I was actually lying in bed kind of unable to sleep because I just, you know, I felt a little bit anxious. And I got up, I was doing some writing. I often will utilize writing as a point of support to just look at my experience and see what's going on with me. And a very interesting point came up regarding my creative process and my process as a person and your process in anything you do. So you've probably heard that whole point around artists finding their voice, and you know, I've said that to myself too, and considered that, like, how does an artist do that? How do they find their style or find their voice? And so the point that I saw last night was, in my writing, you know, I looked at the last 2 days, and even though the outcomes weren't what I wanted, I couldn't deny the fact that I had learned something, and that's sort of something that I kind of had to be honest with myself, right? And look at the process the last 2 days and learn and realize, you know what, I actually did learn something, and I can't deny that. Because I think people, and I know I do, I have the tendency to almost go into a worst case scenario or focusing on the negative. And so it's like I have to will myself to actually look objectively at the situation, right? Because when I'm focusing on the negative, I'm not looking objectively, I'm reacting to the situation. So I was looking at that point last night and I realized, you know what? It's undeniable that I did learn something, and that's why I wiped out the painting in the end, because I was like, you know what? I see what I'm doing wrong here. I want to actually just give it another shot with sort of a different, little bit of a tweak in the approach. And so the point that came up was there's a difference between finding your voice and developing your voice, and that's the key sort of change or shift there. I needed to reframe the point for myself in an honest way. Like, I need to look honestly at what's happening. And so the difference between developing your voice and finding your voice is that when you're developing your voice, everything is a contribution. So even the last 2 days where I maybe didn't have an outcome that I wanted and it didn't seem like I was landing on anything, I looked back and undeniably found that I was learning. And so that learning each time is part of that developing. You're developing your voice, you're developing your style. And so the last 2 days, I was actually contributing to that style, to that voice that will develop, or that I will create through accumulated learning experiences. And so in looking at the last 2 days, I actually did make progress. And so it was just a simple tweak for me to sort of look honestly at my situation instead of kind of reacting to it in an emotional way. So maybe that's something that you could consider for yourself. Like, you know, that point of, it's not necessarily about finding something that's out there, you know, it's about developing your style, your expression. And so anyways, I just wanted to share that point with you guys last night, and I'm going to go ahead and get started on this today, and we'll see what happens. All right, thanks.